So my first bold prediction, I can't remember what I said on the win total over-unders podcast for the Philadelphia 76ers. I believe that both Robbie and I were pretty strong in terms of thinking the Philadelphia 76ers are going to go over their win total. I'm going even stronger here. I think the Philadelphia 76ers finish with the best record in the Eastern Conference, and Joel Embiid wins his MVP award finally and gets it done. Jared, I guess this isn't like wildly bold, but like to go as far as to say first in the East, Embiid, MVP, I feel like I'm like parlaying multiple things here to where it gets bold in a hurry.
Can I give you my first bold prediction?
Yes.
I pick the Philadelphia 76ers to finish with the first seed in the East and Joel Embiid to win MVP. That was my exact first prediction. I guess
that's
it can't
amazing,
be too bold, right? If we all agree on it, I don't think it's not a terribly hot take, especially with the Celtics situation, and we know the Bucks are not gunning for the 1 seed. But yeah, that was the first one I thought of when you told me to come up with it. It's just like Philly is like, Embiid is pissed he didn't win MVP last year. I think he has the stamina and obviously the game to go out there and hit that other level. And it's really him and Luka, I feel like, are the two guys that are lined up as the preseason predictions everybody's got. So he's already primed for it. He comes out with a strong start. He immediately seizes the mantle as the front runner. And I was just going through their roster yesterday. They're like 13 deep with rotation players. They have kind of like every option that they could possibly need. And I feel like their starting lineup is pretty well balanced now. I think Maxi's going to take another leap. One of the ones I was toying with was, should I predict Maxi makes All-Star this year? I really think there's.
I thought about
chance.
it.
Yeah, I guess maybe second layer bold prediction here is that Maxi's their second leading scorer, because I'm really optimistic about Harden just like taking, leading back into just being the point guard and really just taking what comes to him and feeding Maxi and Embiid as much as possible. But they have everything balanced out right, that you could definitely see them being the ones that scrape out the most wins in the regular season.
Yeah, the depth and the leap that Maxi has clearly taken this preseason. I mean, Tyrese Maxey has looked like the breakout guy maybe of the NBA season in 2023 this preseason. And you can make the case that Tyrese broke out last season, but he looks like the all-star breakout guy in the preseason right now, and looks like the guy that's going to take the leap from, okay, he was the number 3 option on the Philadelphia 76ers last year, to being like a legit potential all-star candidate. If he is just going to knock down shots in the way that he is capable of, and he showed last season, and he's going to keep shooting over 40% from 3 while being attack oriented and physical and strong as a driver, having a terrific floater game, being a good on-ball defender, there's just a lot there. They just run 4 deep in terms of like top 50 guys in the NBA, if that's who he is, because then you're going to talk Joel Embiid, obviously a top 5 guy in the NBA, James Harden, who I would imagine will look better a season out of having gotten to Philadelphia, clearly looks to be in better shape than what he was last season. And then I just wouldn't forget Tobias Harris. I mean, Tobias Harris sliding into a 4th option. I don't know if he's the best 4th option in the NBA, but off the top of my head, I can't really think of one better given the way that his game plays off of other players. I love the roster mix. And, you brought up the depth. Like, I'll give you the floor because I know that you want to talk about, this being your bold prediction as well as mine. Their depth is really strong. They did a great job this offseason building out that bench to where I think they're going to be able to withstand some injuries and just the general attrition that occurs throughout the course of the regular season.
I'm just excited about DeAnthony Melton. He's someone I've always really liked, and took a little while for the league to catch up to him. And he's that kind of combo guard that fits into a team that really just needs him to be a corner spacer and then a bit of a slasher from the elbows. But I feel like he's someone that's going to give them so much utility, and is pretty much going to be what they wanted Danny Green to be for them. But I could see him staying healthier, I guess. And so just being able to slide him in there on top of everything else they have, I just feel like that was the icing on the cake that kind of takes them to that next level.
Well, and the PJ Tucker move too. I mean, you go out and you get D'Anthony Melton, who's just like chaos, right? Like that's the best way to describe him. Like he's a perfect complement to James Harden because he completely will change the style of play if James Harden's off the court and D'Anthony's on the court. You're going to have to just adjust to something new that you haven't seen when James is on the court. And honestly, like you can make a case that it works with James on the court and just allows James to maybe take a offensive possession off because D'Anthony's streaking down the court trying to finish in transition. He's going to get a little bit of a break, which is what James probably needs at this point of his career. Just, anytime you can get him just a mini on-court blow where he doesn't have to run the offense and dribble the ball 12 times in a possession, that helps. And obviously having Tyrese there is really going to help that as well. Joel Embiid's the number one option here. That helps James as well. But then you get PJ Tucker as well. And it really, I think, balances out your ability to play big or to play small. Like you really don't need to play Tobias Harris if he's struggling defensively. I thought Tobias actually got better defensively last season. Like I thought that he's no longer a real liability on that end, but having that extra club in the bag, right, that is PJ Tucker, or you can play super physical with PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid in the front court. You can play super small and athletic with Melton and Harden and Tyrese Maxey. And then you could even probably go with like another small if you really, really wanted to, or you can go like super spacing with George Niang. Like there's a lot here. You can go small with like just pure chaos lineup of Matisse Thybulle and D'Anthony Melton. There are just a lot of ways that I think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to be able to present problems for an opposing team athletically, for an opposing team in terms of skill with shooting, with guys like Niang, Maxey, Harden, who are elite shooters. Tobias Harris as well is a terrific shooter. And this is all without talking about Joel Embiid. Like that's the crazy thing. Like we barely brought up Joel Embiid in this conversation. He is primed with the rest of this roster, in my opinion, to have his best season in the NBA. Like the amount of space that he's going to have to operate, it's going to be kind of ridiculous, I think. And you brought up the idea of Joel winning MVP as well. So I'll kind of cede the floor to you on this. I mean, I think there's every reason to expect just an absolutely monster season from Joel Embiid.
Because honestly, there's a little less pressure on Joel in that, over the past few years, they've had this crisis every time he steps off the floor where whoever they put at the 5, they couldn't be the team they wanted to be. And now with Tucker, I actually think they should just use Tucker as a backup 5 more than Montrezl Harrell or B-Ball Paul. Just get him in there, have like an alternative defensive scheme to a little bit, and put other big wings like Niang and Harris. Get ball pressure guards out there like Melton and I guess you could do Thybulle. I feel like you have enough.
Oh, you could do crazy lineups like Thybulle, Melton, Tucker. Tobias Harris has to be out there for offense if you're going with like a second unit here. Someone has to be out there for offense with these lineups.
Yeah.
But and then your fifth guy can be like, I don't even know. Like you can put out another one of the starters.
I guess one of Maxey and Harden should be out there most of the time, right? But either way, they have enough balance now that it doesn't feel like Joel has to dig them out of a grave every time he comes back into a game. And then between that and just they can finally put up 4 shooters around him that aren't sieves on the defensive end. You don't have to rely on Korkmaz anymore. Who am I forgetting? Shake Milton.
Well, in the opposite of that, you don't have to rely on Thybulle anymore either.
Yeah. So they can finally have a 4 out spread around him. And if you double him, I mean, we saw when was it against Boston in the bubble in that first round? I think there was a sweep, right? But it was a close series. And that entire series was Embiid getting doubled and passing out of it. And there was usually some sort of weak link or just, Tobias Harris, I think, had a kind of rough series there. But you just feel like this team is always going to have enough shooters out there that Embiid will always be able to ping the ball out to somebody that can hit a shot. And now they have more guys that can also attack closeouts that aren't just stationary shooters who you don't really trust to be able to score in the mid-range or the paint. They have a little bit more of that. So I don't know if they have enough that they're like a clear favorite, but they have enough that they're a sleeper 1 seed basically with Embiid at the helm.
Yeah, I mean, just like looking at the offense, this should be a top 5 offense in the league if Maxey is who you and I think he is now. Defensively, it should be a top 10 defense, I think, just because Joel should give you that relative floor defensively when he's out there. Look, I guess backup center is still like maybe the one thing that is a concern here. They like, I don't know, like, do you trust Doc Rivers to go small in the way that you and I would love him to go small? Do you trust Doc Rivers in general? Maybe that's where we go here. Is Doc Rivers going to tank this for us? Basically, is that the question?
I guess if he was ever going to trust someone to be his backup 5, I feel like PJ Tucker's going to earn that trust, right?
If you're going small, yeah. I just don't know if Doc's ever going to want to go that small. Doc struggled with playing Paul Reed last year. Like B-ball Paul is like 6'10", and he was worried about getting bullied with B-ball Paul out there.
I mean, does he have any other option, right? I mean, PJ Tucker is their best is their best interior player, at least offensively, of all the guys that they have. Trez obviously is not. I mean, Doc knows Trez pretty well at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but Doc just knows Montrez. Like that's the thing.
He's not gonna play with the fourth quarter. So, I mean, like Tucker, I just think Tucker he's such a smart player that he can kind of he can reinvent the way that you defend based on the situation. And sorry, I just got a message. I think that just like Tucker, he can improvise in a way that none of these other backup guys can. And so he can make up for the size differential. He's so strong. He's got great hands down low. I think that they'll feel comfortable with whatever size he's making up for. He'll find a way to get strips, find a way to trap at the right moment. They can stunt and recover, stuff like that. So I think they're going to be fine.
I agree. I think they're probably going to be fine. I guess that, like, if I was coming up with one thing though that's going to stop this from being accurate, it's not the talent level. Maybe the second thing would be Joel Embiid getting hurt, because if Joel gets hurt, it's going to be a problem. Like, he is maybe the most indispensable player in the league at this point. Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic certainly has a case here, right? But they just don't even have a great backup option for Joel if it goes down. They have depth around Joel now, but I don't know that they have a great replacement option. But getting rid of the idea of injuries here, the thing that worries me most is just, can Doc Rivers get the most out of a team that is now fairly modern in the way that Daryl Morey has built them? And Doc is a Doc is a good manager of people, it would seem, and I think that is a critical skill with this team. I just hope that they get the most out of what I think their talent level is, because that just stylistically, that has often been a question with him.
And the thing we can't forget is, like, James completely threw in the towel in the final game of the playoffs. Like, that was horrendous. That was honestly one of the worst ones I've seen in a long time. So we can't forget that happens. And I feel like that must have been planned, but that audio of Doc talking to Harden, like, during training camp that was streamed live on NBA TV, I just feel like there's no way they didn't know what they were doing on that one. Like, that they did a good job of setting up that narrative that James is fully bought in. We're not going to see that happen again. And hell, I'll buy it, because I want James Harden to win a championship. As frustrating as he may be, he is one of the coolest players that we've had in our lifetime, until he got really annoying watching him play. But I think now they've changed the rules enough that he can't really be as annoying of a player as he was earlier. And now it's like, I'm hoping this will be the year where you get to see him win, really truly utilizing his skill in the best way possible, rather than trying to game the system every single night. And that's going to be really fun to watch.